We've all been there. Standing in the supermarket aisle, you grab a carton of juice, and you feel pretty good about it. I mean, it's fruit, it's natural, what could be wrong with that? Well, what if I told you that whole healthy choice thing is pretty much an illusion? Today, we're going to peel back the label and get real about what's actually in your fruit juice.
So let me ask you straight up. When you see a bottle of juice, does your brain just automatically scream healthy? Yeah, for most of us, the answer is a big yes. I mean, it comes from fruit, right? But what if that's exactly what the big juice companies are counting on you to think? Let's really put that idea to the test. Okay, let's just cut right to the chase, shall we? Take a look at this. A regular glass of Coke has about 26.3 grams of sugar. No big shock there, we all know it's a sweet treat. But now, look at the orange juice right next to it. 25.3 grams of sugar. It's practically the same. And here's the crazy part. We treat one like a sometimes food and the other like a health drink. But to your body, it doesn't know the difference. It's just a massive sugar rush. So to really see how deep this rabbit hole goes, we're going to count down the 7 worst juice offenders you'll find on Australian supermarket shelves. We're going to look at the sugar, the sneaky processing tricks, and the marketing that's designed to fool you. Let the countdown begin.
All right, kicking us off at number 7 is a name literally every Australian knows. Golden Circle. But take a closer look at the carton. See those 2 little words? Juice drink? That, my friends, is your very first red flag.
So here's where it all falls apart. First off, it's got more sugar per 100 ml than Coke. And get this, it's only 25% actual juice. The rest, it's basically water and, you guessed it, more sugar. And that 99% fat-free label they love to slap on the front, that is a classic marketing gimmick. Juice doesn't have fat to begin with. It's a completely meaningless claim to make you think it's healthy. Let's call it what it is. It's a soft drink playing dress-up.
Coming in at number 6 is a brand that has built its entire image on being pure and healthy, Nudie. I mean, the name itself, nothing but, really makes you feel like you're getting just the good stuff. But does that claim really hold water?
And this is where that whole 100% fruit argument just completely crumbles. Sure, it's technically nothing but fruit, but a single small serving has 29.5 grams of sugar. To put that in perspective, that is more sugar than you'll find in a glazed Krispy Kreme donut. Your body really doesn't care where the sugar comes from. It just knows it's being slammed with a huge dose of it and there's zero fiber to help slow it down.
Okay, next up at number 5, we've got the supermarket version of that famous smoothie chain, Boost Juice. They made the leap from the food court to your fridge, but the real question is, did they bring any of the nutrition with them?
Just let that number sink in for a second. 33.6 grams of sugar. That's more than 8 teaspoons of sugar in one of these little bottles. So why is it so high? Well, it's because these are made from fruit juice concentrates. The juice is basically boiled down into a thick, sugary syrup, which destroys all the natural vitamins. Then they add synthetic vitamins back in later. So you're basically paying a premium price for what amounts to liquid candy.
All right, at number 4, we're taking a little detour from fruit and looking at vegetables. For decades, V8 has sold itself as a serving of vegetables in a glass. It sounds like the perfect healthy shortcut, right? But the reality? Well, it's something else entirely.
You see, the hidden danger in V8 isn't sugar, it's sodium. A shocking 420 milligrams in a single glass. That's a fifth of your entire recommended daily intake. Why so much salt? Because the intense processing and heating they use to make it shelf-stable completely obliterates the taste and the nutrients. They're left with this vegetable-flavored water, and they have to pump it full of salt just to make it palatable.
Cracking our top 3 is one of the most common, most recognizable brands you'll see in the supermarket, Berry. It's cheap, it's everywhere, but the real story is in how it's actually made.
Berry is a perfect example of what's called reconstituted juice. What that means is the juice is boiled down into a thick paste, almost like a syrup. It's shipped around, and then months later, they just add water back in. The problem is that whole process kills the flavor. So to make it taste like oranges again, they have to add in so-called natural orange flavoring, which is really a cocktail of oils and chemicals. You're not drinking fresh juice, you're drinking rehydrated paste with flavors added back in.
And our runner-up for the worst juice in Australia is the Daily Juice Company. Now, their packaging looks really nice and premium, they talk a lot about using Australian fruit, and they definitely try to position themselves as one of the healthier choices. But the facts, well, they tell a very, very different story.
This might just be the single most deceptive marketing trick in the entire juice aisle.
On some of their bottles, they boast about being cold-pressed, which sounds really healthy, right? But what they don't exactly shout from the rooftops is that the juice is then pasteurized at a super high heat to give it a long shelf life. That heat completely destroys the delicate enzymes and nutrients that the cold pressing was supposed to preserve in the first place. It means you're paying extra for a health benefit that has literally been boiled away.
And here we are, the #1 spot, the worst juice brand in Australia. And this is a really important one for all the parents out there because you'll find nippies absolutely everywhere, from servos to, alarmingly, school canteens. So what makes nippies the absolute worst? Well, first, the sugar content is just off the charts, 29.5 grams in one little popper. That's more sugar than you'd find in a can of Coke and 2 Tim Tams combined. But what's truly awful is how aggressively it's marketed directly to children. With its cartoon packaging, it's pushed in school canteens as a so-called healthy option. Teachers have even started to link it to kids having trouble concentrating and behavioral problems after lunchtime. Let's just be totally clear about this. Nutritionally, this is junk food, period.
Okay, so now that we've seen the worst of the worst, let's get into the science of it. Why is drinking a piece of fruit so radically different from eating it? Well, it all boils down to one absolutely crucial ingredient that's missing from the bottle. See, when you eat a whole apple or a whole orange, all that fiber in the fruit acts like a sponge, slowing down how quickly your body absorbs the sugar. But when you drink juice, all that amazing fiber has been stripped away. You're just getting a pure, liquid sugar bomb that floods your bloodstream and sends your insulin levels through the roof. Over time, that kind of response can contribute to things like insulin resistance and even fatty liver disease. All right, after all that bad news, you're probably wondering if you just have to give up juice for good. So, let's talk about some of the least bad options out there. But I have to be really clear about this. Even the best juice is still just an occasional treat. It is not a health food.
So here's the key difference. Your mainstream brands are made from concentrate, they're blasted with high heat, and they have flavors added back in. The better options will always say not from concentrate on the label. They're usually made from just pressed fruit. They're still processed, of course, but much less so, and the only ingredient should be fruit. Yes, they're still high in sugar, but they're a definite step up from the industrial stuff we've been looking at.
So we have covered a lot of ground. We've called out the worst brands, we've gone through the science. Now let's distill all of that information down into a really simple, practical set of rules you can use next time you're in the supermarket. Okay, here are your new rules for juice. Rule number 1, water should always be your go-to drink. Simple as that. 2, you have to reframe juice in your mind. It's a treat, like a soft drink or candy, not a health drink. 3, if you are going to buy it, always choose one that says not from concentrate. 4, keep your portions tiny, like 150 milliliters, and maybe even think about watering it down. And rule number 5, the most important one of all, just eat the whole fruit instead.
It really all comes down to this simple idea. The next time you're thirsty and reach for something to drink, just remember these 6 words. It's simple, it's powerful, and it might just be one of the best things you can do for your health. Drink water, not liquid sugar. Thanks for joining me.